Well, let's go to Queensland and Miles. He was handed that poisoned chalice when the despised Anastasia Palaszczuk quit post-COVID and after an almost 10-year run of Labor governments. And he had to go to the polls and was never really going to win Queenslanders over. They were angry over a youth crime wave that has been sweeping major cities in that state for years. They still blame Labor for COVID lockdowns. The pre-planning for the Brisbane Olympics was and still is a shambles. And Miles, like Harris, had this irritating habit of laughing at nothing. I mean, the bloke tried hard in the campaign. He probably did a bit better than expected. But like Kamala, his past came back to haunt him. In a contest of much less note, unless you work or have a good memory of the good old days of Melbourne, the recent Lord Mayoral contest saw former Julia Gillard advisor and Sky News regular, he was a regular on Paul Murray's show, and former Deputy and Acting Lord Mayor Nicholas Rees. He won. Now, during his campaign and after his victory, Rees bobbed up on radio and television, promising a, quote, cleaner, greener, safer CBD of Melbourne. I mean, I beg your pardon, Nick, for 4.5 years you were at the top or near the top running the city. If it was not safe and it was dirty, and it is, smeared with graffiti on almost every hard surface and overrun in parts by homeless people, with one unfortunate bloke stabbed to death recently, so where were you? And Rees, of course, oversaw during COVID the destruction of easy vehicle access to the city, spending millions of dollars installing little-used bike lanes that are despised, that he now says, oh, well, I'll have a look at dismantling them. Not all of them, but some. He also promised some fanciful idea of council-paid security staff wandering the streets 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. If that ever happens, I'd absolutely be staggered. And it doesn't say much about the rest of the candidates that Rees actually won, something that Harris and Miles could only dream of. And that brings me to Prime Minister Albanese and his election next year, maybe as early as March. Just what does he campaign on? Because if you ask the Trump question, do you feel better off after 3 years of Labor? The answer, I think, in general would be no. Pump priming the economy with a Ponzi scheme of flooding the nation with migrants means we have a housing crisis and a cost of living crisis. Interest rates have either gone up or been on hold for his entire term. Australians are waking up to the damage Chris Bowen's Green Dream will do to regional Australia, carpeting rural landscapes with solar factories and wind turbines. I mean, those three issues will be the issues of the campaign: economy, cost of living, housing and immigration. Add to that what a Trump win will actually mean in trade sense, and you work out why even more urgently he needs to rush off to an election. But with what platform? $16 billion to pay off a student HECS debt? I reckon the people who benefit from that were either Labor or Green voters anyway. Big promises on building houses that seem to be going nowhere. Seems to me, just like in the US, the Labor campaign might be aimed at the slogan, at least I'm not Peter Dutton and I won't build nuclear power stations. Look, voters are smarter than that, and you'd think that Peter Dutton, even himself, would admit he's not the perfect candidate. Like America, it comes down to a choice in the end of the lesser of two evils.